Good morning. It's time to settle down for some business. And my name is Odelia Intiamwa. Government is set to securitize the stakes in the mining sector to raise $750 million on the London Stock Exchange and the Ghanaian Bourse. We ask what this means to our little stake in the mining sector as a country. Philip Namfuri is in-house with me, and he's our in-house analyst, and he's here to break it down. Philip, good morning.
Good morning, Odelia.
What does this mean?
Essentially, government wants to raise more revenue when it comes to the mining sector or to the mineral sector broadly. From what we are gathering from the budget, it's targeted at the mining sector. And they've passed the Minerals Income Investment Fund into law. What essentially this means is that they are going to hold and manage equity interest of government in mining companies. Now, this fund, that's the Minerals Income Investment Fund, will set up an SPV. This is a special purpose vehicle. It's a term used in finance. It's an independent body separate from what other organization or establishment you have. So government is going to put this SPV in place, and this SPV is going to act on behalf of government with regards to tracking or raising mineral revenues. Now, what we're gathering from the budget is that they want to list what's our stake in the mineral sector on the Ghana Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange. And this is going to be done through an IPO. The target here is about $750 million. Essentially, what this means is that what normally is government getting revenues from this sector directly, now is going to change. This interest is going to be given to investors all over the world, because London Stock Exchange represents investors all over in the Ghana Stock Exchange. You come and buy into this, and whichever shareholders are in, be it government, be it private people, get access to these funds.
It means that we are not going to own anything in the mining sector anymore as a country?
We are going to own, but we're going to transfer this ownership to that special purpose vehicle to undertake on our behalf. It's essentially a way of transferring risk away from government. So instead of government doing this work of tracking and tracing revenues, this special purpose vehicle will be doing that and be ensuring that we're going to get value for money when it comes to this, the royalties, the rents, and stuff like that.
No, but what I mean is, if this is going to be listed, as an IPO, it means that people are going to buy into our stake. Does that mean that our little position in terms of little stakes that we have in the mining sector is going to dwindle further as we sort of diversify? Okay,
there have been complaints about mining companies not paying up with regards to the fact that some of them are not making enough money, and we've heard the Vice President being active on this. With this IPO, they're going to get an initial $750 million if all goes well. Beyond this, as securities are traded, so as securities are traded on the two bourses, I beg your pardon, the London Stock Exchange and the Ghana Stock Exchange, then investors are going to be buying and selling. We're going to see activity. Over a course of time, as time goes on, just like a company is listed, at the end of the year, dividends are made. We can see the same thing happening here. So we're going to make money based on what the SPV does with regards to the various areas it's going to manage when it comes to the royalties and the rent.
So after we have done this and raised $750 million, then what?
Then essentially let me put it this way to make it simple. We make money from these respective areas. We've not been doing too well with it. We want to increase our chances of making more money from these areas. So we shift the risk, because now it's government that's bearing the risk of losing the money. Now we shift the risk to the special purpose vehicle, the SPV. It then becomes the profit-making or loss-making entity. Whichever shareholders are buying into this, be it government, be it private, be it you and I, then all our channels, all our concerns are going to be channeled through the SPV. So the SPV that's in charge of making the money, if there are any losses, it will take it. Government will be cut away from that.
Are there any countries that have tried this, that it has worked, or anywhere, any jurisdiction?
For now, I can't speak on it because I'm not too familiar with how it's going to go. But from what we're gathering in the budget, this is exactly what they want to do. So I'm sure there'll be more flesh around it in coming days.
Thank you very much, Philip Namfuri. Let's do another story on sachet water, which is a mass product. Well, so she used to sell 15 bags a day, but following the 50% increment, Alima is unable to even sell 4 bags. This is the story of other sachet water sellers as the National Association of Sachet and Packaged Water Producers effected an increment last Monday. Although some producers are yet to apply this change, the traders say it's affecting their business, causing low sales.
Obviously, these hawkers have not welcomed the increment happily. Alima, who has been plying the trade for the past 3 years, tells me that formerly she made a profit of 2 cedis per bag. Although her profit will increase to 3 cedis per bag following the increment, customers are now unwilling to buy her water.
15 bags, 20 bags.
When it was 20 pesos, I was able to sell about 15 to 20 bags. But now since the increase, I have not been able to sell 4 bags. I have sold only 3 bags since morning.
Not
all sachet water producers have increased the price of their products. John Caxton Sasa, supervisor for Joy Water, explains that they would have to conduct a survey before implementing the increment.
We just want to assess things before we can increase the production price. But for production, we are doing it. There are so many factors, like the fuel, when buying the water also, water cost also is one of these too. The management will sit down. We just can't wake up and say, oh, I've increased my price. But the management have to sit down and weigh it two all around.
He did, however, raise a point about the neglect of the smaller denominations of the peswa, explaining that this has partially influenced the 10 peswa increase.
The currency we are taking, people are not valuing the 1 peswa, 10 peswa in the system. So if you increase it 1 peswa, nobody will, they don't have it. They don't have the 1 peswa because we are ignoring the 1 peswa in the system. That's why we are making 20 pesos. Because if you buy, I can't change you 9 pesos. And where am I going to get the change of that small coins?
The failure to appreciate the lower denomination, that is the 1 peswa and 5 peswa, could be the cause of the sudden rise in prices, rounding to the 10th peswa. So we hit the street to find out if people would accept a 3 peswa change if water was to be sold at 27 peswas.
Even if they will increase it, it should be around. Let's increase it by. They can increase it by 1 peswa. That one will be better.
It will sound to me as if the 10 peswa or the 1 peswa is no more of use in the system. So it wouldn't be good to me.
Oh, like he's only the neighborhood. And 20 pesos now they are okay.
This is very bad for them to increase it. If we go back to use a 1 peswa, it will be very good.
1 pesos now they are okay.
So, I just bought a sachet of water for 30 Ghana pesos. I could have bought it at a lesser price, even though there is 50% increase. Some sachet water producers are attributing the 50% increase of sachet water to Ghanaians reluctant in accepting a lower denomination. That's 1 peswa and 5 pesos. So I'm asking, is it the price we are paying for neglecting our lower denomination? Alberta Bisiu reporting for Joy Business.
Well, so there'll be more at 12:30. Please do stay.